Today we're going to be discussing Pierre Gasly, and I'm going to say why I believe he should stay where he is at Alpha Tauri rather than go to Red Bull or any other team for next year. I'll explain why. Let's get into it. So, what I want to say first off is that Pierre Gasly, without a doubt, over the past 18 months, and even in his first ever F1 year in 2018, has proven his ability. Whether it was last year when you got that race from at Monza, or the year before when you got the podium at Brazil, or this year getting that Baku podium and beating Snowden very handily. He's shown that he is a very quick driver and a very capable one at that, who in the right machinery could do big things in F1. I'm not disputing that. But I think that for many reasons, him going to any other team right now is the wrong move, and here's why. For next year, we don't know who's going to be quickest, okay? We can all speculate and say that it'll be Alpine or it'll be Ferrari or McLaren, but the facts are, we don't know. And I think that for Pierre, to keep his market value high, the best thing that he can do is stay right where he is at AlphaTauri, and here's why. Next season, right, let's say that he were to have gone to Alpine. If he were to have done that, then he would have been signed to a 2 or 3 year deal, no doubt, and would have kind of kept him tied down at one team for the foreseeable future. And as a result, at the start of next year, at the end of next year, when we all would have seen kind of, where the pecking order is, who's fast, who's not, he wouldn't have had that freedom to move about and decide where he wants to go and which teams he should kind of move to have the best chance of moving his career forward. But as it stands right now, by staying at AlphaTauri, by remaining at the same team, yes, are AlphaTauri going to be the fastest team next year? Probably not. They're really a B team still. But they'll still be a decent midfield team where he can get points and show his skill. And he'll either be against the inexperienced Yuki Tsunoda or some other rookie with even less experience. And if those things happen, then his market value will be high. And here's the thing. Next year, if Pierre does what he's doing right now, he'll have the ability to go to, say, more options than he would if he, say, goes to Alpine. Because right now, the options are very limited for Pierre. If, say, McLaren or Ferrari were open, then yes, I would say go out to take that chance. But as it stands right now, those options aren't really there, and the options available could be worse than just staying at AlphaTauri, because for next year, he'll have the freedom, because we're going to find out by the end of next year which teams are fast, which teams are kind of in the midfield, which teams are at the very back. And as a result, he can then see, okay, these are the teams, this is where kind of F1 stands, and what's probably going to be for the next 3-4 years to come, where will I go? If he commits now too early, then he won't have the benefit of seeing where everybody is. Now, of course, there is some risk to this, because for next year, for example, say he does stay at AlphaTauri, which he probably will, and say he wants to go somewhere else, teams like Williams may have already signed, Hulkenberg or Valtteri or whoever it is, so maybe he can't go there. Or maybe alternately, a team like Alfa Romeo is going to keep both their drivers and Ferrari are going to keep theirs. So there's a chance that next year he's left hung out to dry. But I think that going back to Red Bull or any other team, quite frankly, isn't an option. And let's see the why. Number one, Red Bull, I don't think he wants to go there because no driver wants to be a number two. No matter how good you are, whether you're, Ricciardo or your Sainz or Pierre, none of those drivers want to be number twos for Verstappen. Now, of course, in 2019, Pierre would have, he wanted to stay at Red Bull before being demoted. But the issue there is, even though he'd of course rather be in the Red Bull, I think pretty easily that he'd rather be at where he is right now with AlphaTauri, getting podiums and points consistently and beating his teammate, than say being at Red Bull, not winning and struggling to go on the podium. So I think that even though on paper, yes, he wants to go to the main team, if he can't win the championship or win races there, then it's really a bit counterproductive. He'd rather be at a team where he can excel, where he's able to push himself, and where his market value remains high, then say go to a team where he isn't valued in the same way, because because obviously the main guy at Red Bull is Max Verstappen, and in some ways understandably. But I think that we have to just understand, and Pierre has to know, that there's no real options for him that's better than just seeing how things play out. In F1, when it comes to a new reg change, those reg changes will kind of determine how the grid is for a long time. For next year and the after that and the after that, F1 is going to be pretty similar-ish, or at least in a similar kind of area, because the regs will be the same. Not identical, but they'll be similar enough that the teams who are at the top next year will probably stay there, and the teams who are at the back will have a lot of time trying to catch back up. I bring this up because Pierre should really be considering his long-term future, and he doesn't want to be at Red Bull next year when he knows that realistically he'll always be kind of under threat of leaving that team when, say, Lawson is promoted or Yuki improves. And even say hypothetically, Red Bull are really bad next year, and Pierre promote Pierre. And sorry, let's say that next year Red Bull are really poor and they promote Pierre to replace Verstappen, who wants to leave because they're underperforming. Pierre knows in his heart of hearts that one, in that scenario, Red Bull aren't a good team. But number two, they don't want him. They made it clear in the past 2 or 3 seasons that Red Bull are loyal or that their main priority is Verstappen. So when Verstappen goes, if Pierre's still in the kind of Red Bull family, what would their priority be? Finding somebody else, whether that's Lawson or Vips or a Hauger in F3. They want to find somebody else who can, lead that team because they don't see Pierre as that guy. Helmut Marko, I think it was a few months ago, said that Pierre is very good in a midfield team like Alpha Tauri, but in a top team like Red Bull, Marko fears that Pierre's abilities or that Pierre's utility won't be the same. So I think that says it all. They rate Pierre as a midfield driver, but they ultimately don't want him to be leading their main team. And in that regard, Pierre should just spend this year and next year where he is. Get those points, beat your teammate, and kind of maintain that very high driver value of a 25-year-old youngster who's doing really well. Don't go to Red Bull and get beaten by Max, where your value will plummet as a driver on the kind of free market. But aside from that, you know that you're either going to be replaced at one point, or even if you're not the main guy there. I think also what kind of shows this perfectly is that in 2019 when Toro Rosso had Albon and Kvyat was beating Albon in qualifying, beating Albon in the race, and he had more points and experience. Every logical thing said at that time, promote Kvyat and give Albon more time. Or at the very least, you just keep your drivers the same. But they put down Pierre and they promoted Kvyat. And what does that do? Well, unfortunately, they demoted Pierre and they promoted Albon, who had no experience and was frankly doomed to fail in that seat. So I think that once you've been at Red Bull once, as Kvyat was, and as Pierre has been, they don't want to put you back because on one degree, Marko and Red Bull have some pride. Or kind of be admitting a mistake that they've demoted you, they've put in some replacements, and since then they haven't had any progress. Aside from that, Red Bull I don't really think want... Actually, no, I know Red Bull want to have star drivers, people like Max, people like Vettel, who they think can win them championships. And I don't think that they perceive Gasly in that way, so I think his best option for this year, next year, is to stay where he is, gauge the market for next season, and see where he can go to kind of move his career forward.